is about composite. Yeah, so this will be the last chapter that I'm going to explain, yeah, in the biomaterial with you. So after this, it will be Pak Khalid's turn to explain on the biological aspect of biomaterial, so more on biocompatibility, bioactivity, those aspects related to biomaterial. So what are composite materials? These are, we don't have much time left, yeah, for biomaterial. Otherwise, that we could have time to discuss about advanced biomaterials like nanotechnology, related to nanotechnology, etc. So what are the classes and types of composites? What are composite? Why are composites used instead of metals uh, and ceramics or polymer? And in the until now, you have learned about metals, ceramics, and polymers. And each of these types of material, metals, ceramics, or polymer, they have different uh, specific. They have different properties. Yes, they are specific properties that makes them metals, that makes them polymers or ceramics, and their properties are quite specific. Yeah. So ceramics, we know why certain materials are called as ceramics. Metals, why they are called metals, and polymers also why they are polymers. But composite is a kind of, as the name implies, yeah, so it's kind of mixture between different materials type, and that is made up that uh, composite. How do we estimate composite stiffness and strength? How do we estimate composite stiffness and strength? And what are some typical application of composite material? So in composites, materials are being combined. Different types of material are being combined. Either they are of the same type of material, or the same polymer, but different, or between different types of material, a polymer with ceramics, for example, are being mixed and being combined, or metal with ceramics, metal with composite, with polymer, for example. Why they combine these different types of materials? Because the objective is to get a more desirable combination and properties. Sometimes we just do not want only a strong material. We want a strong material as material with high strength. However, we want also flexibility. We want also lightweight. Yeah, for example, most of the ceramics, most of the ceramics, they have high Young's modulus. They have high, maybe ultimate tensile strength. But however, they are brittle. Okay, they are brittle. Ceramics are brittle. They are not flexible. They are very rigid, and they are also heavyweight. They are heavy. And by combining this polymer with ceramics, then we could have a kind of somewhere in between. We have flexible material, but also has strength like that of a ceramic. Then when we combine, actually, then what we will have is a kind of average properties between the uh, ingredient material. So between the ceramics and the polymer, then we will have an average between the two. So in terms of terminology, composites can be classified as a multi-phase material having a significant proportion of each of the phase. And we have the matrix. This is the continuous phase within that composite, yeah, which is to transfer the stress to the other phase and also to protect the phase from the environment. So classification, for example, we have MMC, yeah, a metal matrix composite. Yeah, a composite whose matrix material is metallic. CMC, ceramics matrix composite. A composite whose matrix is ceramic. Polymer matrix composite. A composite whose matrix is polymer. Then we have the disperse phase. The disperse phase is the material within that continuous phase, within the matrix. And the disperse phase is to enhance the matrix properties. For example, in MMC, then the enhance is to the purpose of having a disperse phase is to increase the yield strength, for example, or the tensile strength, or the creep resistance. In the CMC, the ceramics, the purpose is to increase Kc. Yeah, I think this Kc impact property is being asked by Tanita. Yeah, last I have done some search. This is shown as, if I'm not mistaken, it is a transition, a kind of transition property, Kc, transition temperature property. PMC, in the PMC polymeric matrix composite, the purpose of when we disperse other material is to increase the elasticity, yeah, to increase the Young's modulus, to increase also the yield strength, to increase the tensile strength and the creep resistance. Then, based on the form of this disperse phase, we could have either as the disperse phase as particle, or as a fiber, yeah, or as structural material. So, for example, here it could be woven fiber, and from cross section, it would look like this, the woven fiber. Yeah. Then, based on that shape of the disperse phase, yeah, that's why we could have what we call as particle reinforced composite, where the disperse phase is in the form of particle. Particle means in granular form, granular, small, and then many of them are being dispersed throughout the matrix continuous phase. We could have fiber reinforced, yeah, where the disperse phase is in the form of fiber, as shown in the previous slide, yeah, like this. We could also have structural reinforced composite, yeah, where the reinforcement is already has certain structure, where we put it into the continuous phase of the matrix. If it were in the form of particle, it could be a large particle, could be as dispersion strengthened, yeah, particle reinforced composite. When it is fiber reinforced, the fiber could be continuous, very long and aligned fiber. Otherwise, it could be discontinuous, okay, in a form of short, short fiber. Then, if it is short, could also be aligned along certain aligned at certain axis, or otherwise it could be at various randomly oriented or direction. If it were structural composite, this dispersion phase could be as laminates. Laminates means as layers, or otherwise as sandwich panel. Sandwich panel, then it has certain sandwiching structure, which we will discuss later. Let's start with the particle reinforced composite. Yeah? So in particle reinforced composite, the disperse phase is in the form of granular, small particle, yeah? But a lot of them being dispersed throughout the continuous phase of the matrix. An example is spheroidite steel composite material. This is where the matrix, yeah, the continuous phase here, the white part here, is ferrite iron, which has an alpha structure, and the property is it is very ductile. How to strengthen it? To strengthen it, here engineer put cementite particles, which basically is ceramics particle, yeah? iron carbide or cementite. The ceramic, strong but brittle, being dispersed throughout the continuous phase of the matrix, of the ferrite matrix. Another example is tungsten carbide. with cobalt. So this is called a cemented carbide. The matrix itself is this white part. The continuous phase is cobalt, which is very ductile. Yeah, but it only contains about 10 to 15% of volume, the whole volume. Then the particle itself contains larger percentage of the volume. The tungsten carbide, which is very brittle and hard. Yeah, like this. Tires, the tires that we have for our cars or also our motorcycle. Basically, they are made from rubber. The rubber is the continuous phase. But if it were only made from rubber, then it will be very, what do you call it, weak, very elastic, it's too elastic. For the purpose of tire, we need something which is also a little bit of rigid. To increase that rigidity, the Young's modulus, we put carbon particle here to make it stiffer, right? The continuous phase is matrix rubber, which is compliant. Okay, then concrete. Concrete is also a type of particle reinforced composite, yeah, because the continuous phase, the matrix, is the cement, right? While the dispersed phase is the gravel and the sand. Yeah. Why sand and gravel? The sand will pack into the gravel voids, yeah, and then they are being glued by the cement. Then we have reinforced concrete. This is if you are going to a construction place where they construct maybe a skyscraper building. Yeah, they usually first put steel, yeah, before they pour the concrete material. Why is not concrete only? Why is concrete only not strong enough? Yes, concrete only is strong. However, they are usually brittle. Yeah, they break easily. To reinforce it, then steel is being put first. Steel re-rod or remesh, it will increase the strength because even if the cement matrix is cracked. Then we have what we call as pre-stress concrete. This is remesh under tension during setting of concrete. The tension will release to put the concrete under compressive force. The concrete will become stronger under compression, and the applied tension must exceed the compressive force. Then we have post-tensioning concrete. This is with a nuts, yeah, at the end, the two ends of the concrete, to tighten nuts to put the concrete under tension with a threaded rod. So let's see at particle reinforced composite, what will happen with the properties, yeah, some of the mechanical properties. So here, elastic modulus. This is the graph of the elastic modulus as a function of a copper matrix containing a tungsten particle. And then this shows the percentage composition. At the leftmost part, this is where we have only the matrix phase, yeah, the copper matrix. At the rightmost part, we only have 100% tungsten volume. Yeah, this is volume percentage. So here we see how the Young's modulus will vary. The more tungsten we put, yeah, the more tungsten or the filler we put, then the higher the Young's modulus will be. It means it becomes stronger, becomes more rigid, more stiff, stiffer material. Of course, then with the drawback, the ductility will decrease. And so the Young's modulus of the composite equals to the percentage of the volume of the matrix, yeah, of the VM here times the Young's modulus of the matrix phase, which is the copper, plus the percentage volume of the particle phase times the Young's modulus of the particle phase. Yeah. Theoretically, this one should be here, the red line. In reality, this happen, the black dots here are the reality from experiments then. So from here, actually then the values are between this upper limit based from the rules of nature and the lower limit based on this formula. 1 over EC, the Young's modulus of the composite, equals to Vm divided by Young's modulus of the matrix plus Vp divided by Young's modulus of the particle. So this looks like what you call it, resistor in parallel formula. Yeah, remember. Only then we put the factor, the percentage volume of the matrix and the percentage volume of the particle. Okay, then this formula can also be applied to other properties. Yeah, we can also calculate the electrical conductivity of the composite just by replacing the EC, EM, EP with the sigma, yang sigma C, conductivity of the composite, and sigma M, and sigma P. We can also calculate thermal conductivity of the new composite by replacing the E in this equation with K, the thermal conductivity of the equation. Okay, let's move on to the next type of composite, where the phase of this first phase is in the form of fiber instead of particle. This fiber means that it has longer length compared to its diameter of the cross-sectional diameter or length. So fibers are very strong. They could provide significant strength improvement to the material. For example, like fiberglass. So this is glass, yeah, silicon dioxide in the form of fiber, very long glass. Continuous glass filaments inside the polymer matrix. The continuous phase is the matrix phase is polymer. The strength is increased due to this glass fiber. The polymer simply holds them in place as the matrix continuous phase. Fibers material can be also classified later as whiskers, where the fiber is in the form of thin, single crystalline, monocrystalline, large length to diameter ratio. For example, when it is graphite, silicon nitride, silicon carbide whisker, it has high crystal perfection. That is why they are extremely strong and strongest known. However, they are very expensive. Then we have more general fibers, which is the crystalline state is polycrystalline, so consists of smaller grains, yeah, of crystals, or otherwise it could also be amorphous, not crystalline at all. So it doesn't have any long range periodicity or order. So this is generally for polymers or ceramics fiber, yeah. Like alumina is ceramic, aramid, this is a polymer, e-glass, ceramic, boron, UHMWPE, ultra high molecular weight polyethylene. Then in the form of wires when it is from metal, like steel wire, molybdenum wire, or tungsten wire. So here fiber could be like this, aligned and very continuous. Yeah, basically they are continuing each other. Yeah, it may not one single fiber may not be the whole length of the material, but they are making layers with each other such that they can be considered as continuous and aligned. Otherwise, when they are not like that, aligned but not continuous, yeah. So there are still some considerable gap between the fibers. When the orientation of the fibers are random, then it is random discontinuous like this. Let's see first the cases, the examples of aligned continuous fiber reinforced composite. For example, here this is metal inside metal, metal. This metal fiber inside metal matrix, gamma phase nickel alumina inside alpha molybdenum. By eutectic solidification, the matrix is alpha molybdenum, which is ductile, yeah, and The fibers is the gamma dash nickel aluminum, which is brittle. Okay. We have another one, ceramics, glass fiber within single carbide. Yeah, formed by glass slurry like this. The matrix is silicon carbide. The fiber is the glass. Silicon carbide has 400 gigapascal, Young's modulus. Glass has 76 gigapascal, Young's modulus. Let's now give example for discontinuous random two-dimensional fiber. This is, for example, carbon-carbon process. Fiber pitch burn out at up to 2,500 degrees Celsius. This, the carbon fibers, they are very stiff, very strong. Inside the carbon matrix, which is less stiff and strong. So carbon inside carbon, the matrix carbon is more continuous phase in the form of maybe graphite. Yeah. And we have another one as carbon fiber, which is stiffer, very stiff, and very strong. This is used as disc brakes, gas turbine exhaust flaps, as well as nose cones. Other variations is discontinuous and random in 3-dimensional or discontinuous in 1-dimensional. For example, in this type of composite, the fiber lie in a plane, but within the plane they are quite continuous. Continuous, yeah. The random orientation is only within that within that plane. Critical fiber length for effective stiffening and strengthening, yeah, it can be calculated like this. The fiber length should be larger than 15 times sigma f, which is the fiber strength in tension, times the diameter of the fiber, divided by tau c. Tau c is the shear strength of the fiber matrix interface. For example, for fiberglass, usually fiber length larger than 15 millimeter will be needed. Why? Longer fibers can carry stress more efficiently. Yeah, let's say this is the illustration. When you have shorter and thicker fiber like this, so basically the shorter, the more thicker, it will behave more like a particle reinforced composite rather than fiber reinforced composite. You see here, when at the edge, you will have a concentration of stress. So this basically shows the stress field within that material when we apply axial stress in the transverse direction, longitudinal direction, at the direction of the length of the fiber. Stress will be concentrated at its ends, both ends, like this. So when you have shorter and shorter, this will be concentrated more. Okay, then you have poor fiber efficiency. Yeah. So let's see, but when you extend the length to larger than 15 times the sigma fd times the diameter of the fiber divided by shear strength of the fiber matrix interface. See here, you have more region where the stress field is uniformly distributed. Yeah, this one. No concentration. The concentration only happens at the edge of the fiber here, where the stress field is being concentrated. But that's all. This small region compared to the long dimension of the fiber. So the majority of the region has a uniformly spaced stress field. Well, this one is not. This one is some higher percentage of the region has a larger concentration of the stress field, so which makes this weaker. This material, the material is weaker compared to this composite. In continuous fibers, how to estimate the fiber is for composite strength for long continuous fiber in a matrix. In longitudinal deformation, where the stress is along the direction of the fiber, the sigma of the composite will be equal to the sigma of the matrix times the percentage volume of the matrix plus the sigma of the fiber times the percentage volume of the fiber, yeah, the volume fraction. However, the strain is the same. along when we extend this, each region of the material will endure the same strain, the same length extension. In the composite, in the matrix, as well as in the fiber, they have isostrain. Yeah. While we know that the Young's modulus of the composite is from the previous formula equals to the Young's modulus of the matrix times the factor, the percentage volume fraction of the matrix plus the Young's modulus of the fiber times the volume fraction of the fiber. So here, if since they have epsilon the same, you know that E equals to epsilon sigma divided by epsilon, right? E equal to sigma divided by epsilon. So from here, then we obtain the force of the fiber compared to the force of the matrix equals to the EF of the fibers times the volume fraction of the fiber divided by EM, the Young's modulus of the matrix, divided by the force volume of the force fraction of the matrix. Okay. When it has transverse loading, so it means that the stress is perpendicular to the direction of the length of the fiber, then what we will have is isostress. Isostress means the stress is the same throughout all the phases of that material, of the composite material. Yeah, sigma C equals the sigma at the matrix equals the sigma at the fiber. While the epsilon, it is the strain that is added. The strain in the longitudinal direction or the transfer direction will be an addition from the matrix strain times the matrix volume fraction plus the fiber strain plus the volume fraction of the fiber. So we have here the transverse modulus 1 over ECT equals to Vm divided by Em plus Vf divided by Ef. So this looks like when the materials are put in parallel, yeah. Remember, like a series, like a parallel resistor, the formula. To estimate the EC and TS of discontinuous fiber, the Young's modulus of the composite and tensile strength for discontinuous fiber case. This formula will be valid only when the fiber length is larger than 15 times the sigma F times the diameter of the fiber divided by shear strength of the composite. So the elastic modulus in the fiber direction, will be equals to FEC equals to EMVM plus K. There is a factor K now since it is not continuous times EFVF. K here is the efficiency factor. When the discontinuous fibers are aligned in one dimension, means the K is 1. So basically it will behave similar like a continuous fiber line in parallel. But when the alignment in one dimension is perpendicular, the alignment is more like this, perpendicular to each other, then the efficiency here is 0. So then basically you will have the composites Young's modulus the same as the Young's modulus of the matrix phase. So no point of putting that fiber there when they are aligned perpendicular to each other. But in reality, usually the alignment is random. Yeah? Some are maybe perpendicular, some maybe with certain degree, the other one maybe with parallel to each other, etc. In random two-dimensional case, the K is 3 over 8 when we have two-dimensional isotropy. In 3 dimension, the K is 1 over 5. Tensile strength in the fiber direction equals to here, so similar when it is aligned, when the fiber is aligned in one dimension. Yeah, similar like continuous fiber. How to produce composite now? There are several ways to produce composite. The first one is to use pultrusion. Continuous fibers are being pulled. Yeah, this is a fiber being pulled through the resin tank. So this is the tank which has the performing. This is the resin tank. Okay, so this goes through this, and with it, it will bring also the resin. So the fibers are being impregnated, resin impregnated, being impregnated by the resin. Here it is performed in this die, pre-formed in the die, and then being cured in this die. Afterwards, being pulled, and this is the resulting product. Using certain specific temperature. Another ways is using filament winding, like inside the pressure tank. Continuous filaments are being wound onto the mandrel. Here is through here using helical winding or circumferential winding. Remember one of the paper presented by Ezra, I think, using Spoor, and Ezra and Andy using Spoor machine, similar like this. Or polar winding like this between the two ends of the mandrel. Then the last type of structural reinforced composite. Here, this first phase itself already has a certain structure. For example, here, when we stack and bonded fiber reinforced sheet, this one is a sheet of fiber reinforced matrix. And then it is being put in different direction. Here in the this direction, the second layer on that direction, perpendicular to the first, third layer on that direction, similar to the first, fourth layer similar to the second layer direction. They are being stacked. It's this stacking sequence 0 and 90 degrees. Then they will make a balance and incline stiffness. So this is laminar, more of laminar. Another way is using stacking of sandwich panel to form a light but strong composite. Yes, because it will have a low density. This one honeycomb core. It will be small weight, but large bending stiffness. It will be very difficult to bend this kind of structure. So many of the airplane structure are being made as composite like this, and because then they will be lightweight, the wing certainly, but it has enough stiffness. It doesn't crack easily. So the benefit of composite is that one is to increase the toughness. For example, here in ceramic matrix composite with particle reinforcement, you unreinforced ceramic is like this purple one. But when you increase with fiber reinforcement, the Young's modulus increases, the toughness also increases, the tensile strength increases, and when it has this plastic region. When it is particle reinforced, also the Young's modulus increases with increased ultimate tensile strength. At polymer matrix composite, it will have increased Young's modulus over the density. With the density is still small, can be made, means it is still lightweight, but the strength can be increased. When we disperse metal alloys, here the Young's modulus increase in this region. This is the density, the x-axis shows the density, the y-axis shows the Young's modulus. We put ceramics in reinforcement, it has this very high Young's modulus in thousands of gigapascal. In metal matrix composite, the use of this first with when we put this first phase, it will increase the creep resistance. Like this one with aluminum with silicon carbide whisker, then you have increased the creep resistance compared to this normal aluminum. So as a summary, composite are classified according to the matrix material. Could be CMC, ceramics matrix composite, MMC, metal matrix composite, PMC, polymer matrix composite. Then also can be classified according to the reinforcement geometry or shape. When they are granular, then it is particle reinforced composite. When it is fiber, when this first phase has a very long length compared to the diameter, then it is fiber reinforced composite. Or otherwise as layer structure or laminates. Then in the composite enhance the matrix property. In metal matrix composite, it will enhance the yield strength of the metal matrix, the tensile strength, and the grip performance. In the ceramic composite, will enhance the KC, the transition temperature, the critical transition temperature. PMC, polymer matrix composite, will enhance the Young's modulus, the yield strength, and the tensile strength, as well as the grip performance. In particulate reinforced matrix, the elastic modulus can be estimated. The properties are isotropic because the particle is granular shape, and dispersed everywhere. So the reinforcement happens everywhere. It doesn't have certain direction. That's why it's called isotropic. In fiber, the properties can be isotropic or can be anisotropic. If the fiber is continuous and aligned, then usually you will have anisotropic. But it means then the Young's modulus, for example, in the direction of the fiber will be different than the Young's modulus in the direction perpendicular to the fiber. Elastic modulus and tensile strength can be estimated along the fiber direction. In structural, then this is base structural composite based on build-up of sandwiches in layered form. These are some exercise we want to do. If you want to do later at home. Are there any questions so far, everyone?
Sir?
Yes.
I want to ask about in page 16, I think, is about the formula. So you said that the K can be replaced when it's parallel, it's 1, and when it is perpendicular, it's 0. But what if there in perpendicular they have some degree, like what you said? Should we choose consider it as 0, or what number?
If they have certain degree, it is between 0 and 1.
And how do we
determine?
know that is it?
Through experiments. Through experiments.
Oh.
So this one K is when they are parallel to each other. The fiber are discontinuous parallel to each other. Something like this. Right. This one is parallel to each other. When they are discontinuous, when the K equals 0 is when completely like this. For example, this is 0. But in reality, usually then, if it is in randomly oriented, this is discontinuous fiber. So if it is random, like this, so it could be anywhere direction, right? So in this one, then to determine the K, we can do experiment, and then for example, we have the sample where with only the matrix Young's modulus. We have also, this is usually, maybe we know the properties of the fiber, we know the properties of the matrix, and we determine the percentage, and then we measure the resulting composite Young's modulus. So based on that, we can determine the K.
Okay, but why should the efficiency factor is just in the fiber part, not in the matrix part?
Yeah, the matrix part is usually has smaller Young's modulus compared to the fiber in this case. Yeah, because fiber is usually, for example, in fiberglass, the matrix is polymer. Polymer has much lower Young's modulus in megapascal, several megapascal, while the filler, the dispersed phase, is glass fiber. Glass fiber from silica has much higher Young's modulus in gigapascal. right? That is why then this is more of the determining factor compared to this. Yeah, this can still play a role when the percentage of the matrix is, volume fraction of the matrix is still high. Okay. That is why the fiber is more important. That's why it is called fiber reinforced composite. When the matrix itself is already strong, usually you don't need fiber reinforcement. That is why it is called as reinforced. The fiber is to give stronger, give more force towards the matrix, as well as particle reinforced. Does it answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anything else? Any questions? If no more questions, so that will be all, yeah, for today. Is this a recording?